everyone. I just wanted to share some of these flowers that I made, and also I know you guys have probably seen tons and tons of flower videos out there, but if you're like me, you're always looking for a good flower tutorial video. So I'll show you how I made each of these flowers, but I also wanted to share with you a solution that I had to come up with because first of all, I have this book and I've had it for probably about 4 or 5 years. It's called Paper Bouquet, Using Paper Punches to Create Beautiful Flowers, and it's by Susan Tierney Cockburn. I think it's copyright like 2008. Like I said, I've had it for quite a while. I've made some of the flowers in here, but I wanted to find some tropical flowers that I could use on my projects, my pages that I'm doing right now for our cruise. And so I picked out 3 flowers out of this book, and the flowers that I picked out are the amaryllis, which are these here you see, and I made them in two different colors and 2 different sizes. Let me see if I got a little bit of a smaller one here as well. And I used the papers from the Prima Seashore collection to make these so they will match my project, and also just some coordinating cardstock. And I chose the amaryllis, I chose the anemone, just this one here, and I chose the iris, which is this one here. The problem that I ran into is that the instructions call for certain punches, and I do not have all of the punches. I do have some McGill punches. I'll show those to you here. See, I do have some of the punches, but this book doesn't just only use McGill punches, it uses other brands too. And I don't have all the punches. So I thought, okay, well, how can I get these shapes? So I started going through all my Cricut cartridges to see if I had any shapes that were similar to this. And of course I found some of the shapes, but not all of them. So then I'm like, okay, well, what can I do? There's got to be a way that I can, do these shapes. Can I just draw them myself and cut them out? And I thought, well, that's one option. And then I started thinking, okay, well, I could trace them maybe, and and then I could, trace them onto paper and then cut them out. So I thought, better idea. So I came up with a better idea. And this may not work for everybody, and the reason is because I used my bamboo drawing tablet. And what this is it's just a tablet. It comes with a pen. Well, I'll have the pen right in front of me right now. Oh, here it is. It comes with this pen, and you hook it to your computer with a USB cord, and it acts like a mouse. And you can use it as a mouse, but if you use it in a drawing program like Paint or something like that, I used Photoshop, you can actually draw with it and color and do whatever and create your own shapes. So what I did was I went and took some tracing paper that I had, and I took a pencil and I actually traced out some of the shapes that I did not have. And then I placed the tracing paper on top of my bamboo pad, and I traced the shape out into Photoshop, and that way I was able to make it as big or as small as I want. Now, after I did that, I saved the file, and because I have a Cricut Explorer, I can upload certain file types into Cricut Design Space, which is the software that runs with Cricut Explorer. and I was able to cut them out. So I was able to cut, I was able to create these petals in the shapes that I wanted, the ones that I couldn't find anywhere, either on my Cricut cartridge and sometimes you can go online and there might be some shapes out there online as well, SVG files that you can download for free and use those shapes to cut out with your Cricut. Or if you have a silhouette or something like that. So that worked out really well. And I love this book because I think these flowers are so realistic, and there's so many flowers in here. They have them, it's all listed in the beginning of the book. You can see that it has tons of them. And also if you go on McGill's website, McGill that makes these flower petal punches, Punch a Bunch or something, they make different ones. They have instructions on there too that you can print out to give you, to show you how to use their punches. See, like for instance, here is an anemone. This is their instructions that I printed from their website. And this is an anemone, but as you can see, it's a little bit different, just a hair different than the anemone that's in the book. The petals are a little bit more heart-shaped than the petals that are in the book. And I made the one that was in the book. So that's what I did to solve that problem. And I wanted, like I said, I was trying to find some tropical flowers to me that looked tropical to me, that wasn't just a hibiscus, because everybody puts the hibiscus. So I just chose flowers that had either long petals or long centers, bushy centers, and they just looked tropical to me with their long leaves and everything. So I have 3 here that I haven't put together yet, and I thought I would share with you how I made them. The book gives you instructions on techniques for cupping and shaping and bending and stuff like that, and then each flower has its own instructions. It tells you how many of each shape you need to make one flower. And you can see here in the book where I have actually written down Cricut cartridges where I can get the shape, but it actually worked out better for me. The flowers came out better. I actually drew the shape, and you'll see when I pull the flower petals out that they match almost perfectly just from the tracing. And then there's a couple that I actually just put together myself because the shapes were so geometric I didn't really have to trace it. I just used Photoshop and actually just put the shape together. Okay, so I'll show you what I did to make the flowers. The anemones I actually made in 2 different sizes and 2 different colors. And the same thing with the amaryllis. I made in 2 different sizes and 2 different colors as well. And the white one I made is just regular white paper. I did not use the Prima paper for that, but all the other flowers I did use the Prima paper for, including the iris. So, okay, so let me show you how I made these. I will start with the amaryllis. And these are all the petals. Let me zoom in here. I will refer to this petal shape as a dahlia shape because that's what the book calls it. And I needed 6 of those, a little star shape, 2 different, the asterisk shape, and then a a snowflake shape, which both of these, this one I created in Photoshop, and this one was on my Winter Lace Cricut cartridge. It's not exactly the same snowflake. It's just a little bit different than the one that's in the book. It's this one right here. It's just a little bit different, but it's close enough, and it doesn't show anyways. It's just for the base of the flower. So, and then I had this SVG file that I uploaded, and I don't remember what website I got it off of, but these are little elongated leaves. So I used that in place of the, I mean, it looks very, very similar to the leaf that's in the book. So it worked out. And so let's get started. First thing you want to do, start off with your petals. On this particular flower, the instructions say to round off the pointed end of the flower, because that is the end that's going to be extending on the outside. It's going to be on the outside of the flower. Let me grab one of the flowers so you can see what it looks like. So I have to round off this section of the flower. I'm not real sure why they want you to round it off, because it's actually not going to be okay. Yes, it is going to be on the outside. Okay, so what I do is just, I start at this, right where the little point goes in right here, and I just curve it around, and just do that on every one. Now once you have that, next step is to tint the petals. So what I've used is a long lost scrapbooking art supply, and that is chalk. I don't break out my chalks very often, but I have this set here. I have a couple others too, but this is one set that I have from Pebbles, and I love it because it's got all the tools. It has 2 different colors or shades of each color, and it has 3 different sized puff balls, whatever you want to call them. Little, they're not really cotton. They're fuzzier for each color of chalk, so that you know you're already all set. And then this little thing here, this little clip here, holds them while you apply the chalk. So the color I used for the amaryllis petals is this color here on the end. The camera, it's more of a teal color, but the camera is making it look more turquoise for some reason. So anyways, what we want to do is we want to color close to the base of the petal. Let me zoom back in. We want to color closer to the base of the petal here. Camera's not focusing. And so I'm going to grab this little ball here, and I'm just going to give me some chalk on there and just color in the base of the petal. each one. Okay. Now what I like to do is I like to just brush off any excess chalk that's on each petal. And then grab this little burnishing spoon that comes with the set, with the chalk set, and just burnish the chalk on there, onto the paper. It helps to blend and then set the chalk, because it pushes it into the fibers of the paper, and it doesn't, that way it doesn't come off easily. I mean, you could still get a little bit on your finger, but it doesn't rub off after that. Kind of sets it. Okay, and the next thing I did was I took this old road I wonder why my camera's gonna be like this today. Anyways, it's the Prima chalk ink, and I used it just to do kind of like a line around the edge of the chalk of the petal. Let me see if I can get the camera to show that to you. It's trying to focus. Sorry about that. I changed the setting on my camera and it shut off. So I'll just continue to put that little line around the outside of the petal. The other thing too is that because I used paper and not cardstock, and the paper that I use has a white core, I like to cover up the edge, so even on like some of the other flowers where the instructions did not call for the petal to be edged, I went ahead and did it anyways. Because I don't like the white core to show on the edges. And last one here. That's it. Okay, now the petal is ready for shaping. And I have a pad here that is just a mouse pad. An old mouse pad. And I have these McGill paper shapers. They're stylus balls, and I have all kinds of other little things in here that I use. And the tweezers that came with the set. And there's 3 stylus balls with 6 different sizes. Now I'm going to take this larger one here that's 8mm and my tweezers, and I'm going to do this step. The instructions are given in the book, and basically it's called shaping the petal, but to me it's really just breaking down the paper fibers and softening up the petal. And I'm going to do that to each one. Okay. Now I have all of them shaped, and I'm going to, this is the snowflake that I showed you earlier. This is used for the base of the flower. It's what you glue the petals to. And the instructions call for it to be cupped, which basically is just pressing in the center, and the petals of the snowflake, if you will, kind of curl up, so you get a little cup. But I don't like mine to be too dimensional, so I always flatten it out a little bit. I know it's hard to see on here because of this black mouse pad, but I'll put it down there on the craft mat so you can see it. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do with the petals is I'm going to take the tweezers. I'm going to take the bottom of the petal, which is this flat square end here, and I'm just going to put the tweezers here, like so, and I'm just going to take my 2 fingers and I'm going to pinch the petal. And then the instructions say to bend the petal, and usually what they do with the petals is to bend them, they'll take the tweezers and grab the petal like this, and then this is what it looks like anyways in the book when I'm reading the instructions, and to bend it back. But I don't like that, because if you look closely you'll see that it leaves a line on the petal. And so the way I found that I like to keep that from happening is to grab further down and just let the tweezers grab the petal, and then just pull and kind of twist at the same time, kind of like you would do with scissors. If you take those like ribbons and you want to curl the ribbons, you know how you take the scissors and you just pull in that motion and it curls up the ribbon. It's kind of like the same thing with the end, so it kind of gives the end a little curl. Let's see. And then just do that with every single petal. Pinch and bend. Let me adjust the camera here for a second. This way I won't keep going off frame so much. Okay, the next step is we're going to glue the petals to the base, which is the snowflake. And I like to use liquid glue. I think that's the best because it doesn't get all glumpy up under the petals. If, like, for instance, if you use hot glue dries quicker, but it can tend to, if you accidentally put too much on, it's hard to get it off once you put it on, and then it gets clumped up, and it's not real. It starts adding dimension in places that you don't really want it. So I think the best thing to do, if you have time for it to dry, is to use the white liquid glue. Quick dry or something would also work. Even your Fabri-Tac or your Beacons, anything, just liquid glue so that it's not bulking up on you. And then what you do is you're going to take your petals. You're going to start with 3 petals, And you're actually, and I put too much glue on there, you're actually going to take the petals and you're going to glue them only part way down. The first 3 petals only part way down. On one arm of the snowflake. Just kind of hold it there for a minute. Give it a chance to set a little bit. So as you can see, the petal's kind of farther out on the arm of the snowflake. It's away from the center. And then you'll just do that with 3 petals, skipping one arm and then going to the next arm. Just hold it there, let it set, and move on to the next one. Okay, and that's what it looks like so far. Okay, so for the next 3 petals, you're going to glue these closer to the center of your snowflake. Okay, actually, guys, I messed up. It's been a couple weeks since I've made this flower. Sorry. You do want your first 3 petals to be farther out from the center, but not quite as far out as I put them, because then you're going to end up with a big hole in the center of your flower, and you really don't want to see the snowflake. Okay, that's better. It's a lot better. You can still see the center. Now, the next 2, or the next 3, you're actually going to go right to the center of the snowflake. I give it a little bit of time to set. And there's your flower. So the next step is to do the center. And since I've used such dark cardstock and it does not have a white core, I don't have to worry about inking or anything. So you want to cup both of your centers. So I'm going to take this small 5mm stylus, and I'm going to use that to cup my little star. And the little star is kind of like the base of your center. See, it's in a little cup shape now. And I'm going to glue that right into the center of my flower. Put a little bit of glue right there in the center. And get some glue to come out. There we go. And you can actually use your tweezers if it helps, like me. Okay. Now we have our center, or the base for our center. And the center is going to be this little asterisk shape here. And I'm going to use this small stylus ball again to cup it. And actually there's one step that I forgot. The instructions in the book are to take your small scissors and to cut each of the little rays of the little burst, or whatever you want to call it, asterisk, and then cut them in half, just like this. So you can see right there where I cut them in half. This camera. And then just do that all the way around. Because I feel like I made this asterisk a little too large for this size flower, what I did was I took the petals, or the rays of the asterisk that I just cut in half, and I cut them down a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect, because you're not gonna notice an imperfection. That's one of the reasons why I love flowers so much, because their nature, they're not perfect. And if I screw up, it's not that big of a deal. So I put some glue there in the center on that little star, and I'm just going to sit this little asterisk starburst shape right down there in the middle. And then I'm just going to pinch the little rays and fluff them up a little bit. And actually pinch them to where they bend back a little bit, so they're not all like sticking straight up. And there you go. There's your flower. Now to the leaves. Going by the instructions, you're to take a stylus, one of the smaller ones, and this part of it you kind of want to be a little careful, because I have poked holes in a lot of the leaves from doing this, but you just want to make a vein. You're supposed to put the leaf right side down when you do this, so whichever side you want to be the side that's up, you would put it down facing the mouse pad, and you just draw or emboss with your stylus a vein right down the center of the leaf. So that when you flip it over, you can see the line. Kind of gives the leaf a little bit of texture and a little bit more realism, so it's not so two-dimensional. Okay, so then what I did was I took some of the old road again, and of course, you know, I wanted to go around my edges. Even though this cardstock is not white core, I still wanted to darken up my edges for these leaves. And then I just kind of hold the leaf and bend it up, and then just use the ink pad just to run it along. To make the definition of that that vein pop out just a little bit more. I like to dirty up my leaves a little bit so they don't look so clean. Okay, and you can attach the leaf if you want. You can attach the leaves to the back, or leave them, you know, detached so that when you put them on your page, then you can arrange them however's convenient for your page behind your flower. So I have some that have leaves on the amaryllis, and I put leaves on most of them. Like this one, I left the leaves off of it. And if I need to, I can just peel the leaves right off the back if for some reason it just doesn't work on a page. But for now, I went ahead and attached the leaves to some of them, but I think I'm going to leave these two off. There's another small one that has no leaves attached. So I really like how these came out, especially the white ones. I can't wait to use these. Okay, so the next flower is the anemone, and I made this one in two different, actually it really looks like I made it in 3 different sizes, and I think that's a little bit more the case with this, because the first ones that I cut out was this, and I thought, wow, that's big. It'll still fit on a 12 by 12 page, but it's going to take up a lot of room, and it's a little bit bigger than I want. I don't like the flowers to be so big that they start taking over, and that's all you see is a flower and not a photo. Even these are a little big for me, but depending on how I use it, if it coordinates really well with the background, it'll fade in and won't be as noticeable. Same with this. If I use this large flower, either of these, I'll probably have to make sure that they both are really coordinate with the background, so that the colors don't pop out and take over. I really like this size better. So I saved a medium-sized one to show you guys how I made that. This one has a lot more pieces to it, the anemone. Than the other two. The anemone had a lot. Here, let me zoom out so you can see. Okay, these are I actually created this in Photoshop based on the shape that was used. So I went into Photoshop and used some lines and circles and created this. It's used in a lot of the flowers. I also created this snowflake as well, and I accidentally broke off one of the little balls on the end, but once you use this for the center, you won't even notice that that's missing. I have the punch, the McGill Star Punch, which is used in this flower, but it comes in 2 different sizes, and I only have the medium-sized one. I think it's the larger of the 2. So I had to finagle this a little bit, and I'll show you what I did to make it work with this flower. I also drew these leaves. Grape leaves is what they are, and I can't remember. Okay, I'm back. My memory card was getting full. The camera wasn't telling me that, it was just shutting off. But anyhow, I was talking about these leaves, but I ended up having to freehand these for the most part. And then, of course, I needed a starfish, which I also traced and created this from the shape that was in the book, and then my trusty little snowflake that I got from my Cricut cartridge. And the leaves I had to create as well. I had to draw them and trace them because I didn't really have anything that was as close as I wanted it to be. So I ended up just doing it that way, and this way I ended up with a leaf that was, or a petal rather, that was almost exactly what was called for to make the flower. So first thing with this flower is I used my chalks again, and I used different colors. Obviously on this light blue one I used a blue colored chalk. On this color paper, which is part of the Prima Seashore collection, as well as that blue paper, I used 2 different colors. I did one with a green in the center, and it was okay. I wasn't that crazy about it, but I think, for having a little bit of contrast, it actually worked out pretty nice. This one I really liked. I used a yellow, actually it was more of a light brown chalk on this, and the old paper, did I use frayed burlap or old paper? I think I used old paper, which kind of matches the green that's in this paper. The green that's in the pattern that's on this paper. And I just really like how this came out. I don't know if the camera's really picking it up, but so I think I'm going to do that same technique with this flower that I'm making now. This is the color chalk that I used right here. I used the lighter. What the deal with these 2 different colors is, one of them is kind of sparkly metallic, and then the other one is a matte. It's kind of like your eyeshadow. You have a sparkly metallic one, and then you have a matte. So that's kind of what it reminds me of. But that's how it is for each of these colors. And I'm going to use the sparkly metallic shiny one for these leaves. I'm using the larger of the puff balls because these petals are a little bit bigger. Let me zoom in and I'll get started. And on this flower, the little part that looks like the end of a heart right here, that's the outside of the flower. So we're going to start here on this side that has the little point to put our chalk. Okay, so now I've got the chalk on. I'm going to do exactly what I did before. I'm going to brush off the excess chalk and use the burnishing spoon, sauce spoon. Okay, so now that the chalk is on, I'm going to use my Distress ink, which is the color Old Paper, and I'm going to go around the edging again. Okay, so the petals are all colored. So now we're going to shape them. And again, we're going to go through the same process that we did earlier with the other flower. I'm using the large stylus ball. And I'm going to shape the petal. So the petals are all shaped, so the next step would be to do the pinching and the bending.